Trump is the first major politician in any Western democracy to come into power and actually try to demonstrate you can reverse the mistakes of your predecessors. And if you compare him to somebody, for instance, in the UK, who's often compared to President Trump, which is Nigel Farage, who now leads the Reform Party. If you compare President Trump's attitude to Nigel Farage's just a few months ago, where he was interviewed about the illegal and legal migration into the UK and asked if he would ever consider reversing it by returning people who had come illegally, his response was, it's just not going to happen. There's no way to do it. It's just not going to happen. And that's very striking. And Farage came in for a lot of criticism from his own political side, and obviously particularly to his right for those comments. And people said things like, what's the point of being a right-wing party to the right of the Tories, the Conservatives, if you don't say you want to return people who've broken into the country? But Farage's response was very interesting because it was effectively the response that European leaders and others have had for more than a generation. It's too complicated. Nobody's been able to do it.
Douglas Murray lays it out clearly. Trump is the first Western leader in living memory who didn't just talk tough on immigration. He actually showed it's possible to reverse decades of elite negligence. While European politicians like Salvini or Farage shrug and say, it can't be done, Trump proved the opposite. Deportations happened. Criminal illegals were sent back. The fatalism that has defined Europe for a generation was shattered. Murray contrasts this with Britain's Nigel Farage, who openly admitted mass returns are impossible, and with Italy's Salvini, who promised but had no plan. For Europe's right, that's devastating. What's the point of demanding secure borders if you concede defeat before the fight begins? Trump's example is historic, because if America can do it, Europe can no longer hide behind excuses. This isn't just about the US border. It's about the West itself. Either leaders prove sovereignty means something, or they watch their nations unravel under the weight of illegal migration, double standards, and cultural fragmentation. Trump's fight is America's fight, but it's also Europe's last warning.
I've asked this of politicians in many European countries in recent years. Most obviously, some years ago, I asked Matteo Salvini when he was Interior Minister and running for election again, and I said, you've got 1 million illegals in Italy by your own estimation. What are you going to do about it? And he said, we're going to return them. And then I tried to drill down on what the plan was. And I realized there just wasn't a detailed plan, which means it's not going to happen. Trump has done something historic in this, which is that not just for America, but for other Western countries, he's shown, no, actually, we can have an organized, publicly backed movement with a political mandate that says, if you have come into America, you've broken in illegally, and then committed serious crimes in America, America does not want you, and it will return you to your country of origin or to the country you came from. That is going to have, if he succeeds in this, even succeeds to just a meaningful degree, doesn't have to be able to get everyone out, but if he succeeds to any meaningful degree, he will not only succeed for America, but he will succeed for other countries in the West to show that the fatalism surrounding this is not inevitable. If Trump and Homan manage to deport on an average day the number of people they have managed to deport on their best days, if they do that on their average days, they will have to spend the rest of this administration, the next 3.5 years, keeping that up just to undo much of the Biden era illegal migration. That is a very tough proposition. And again, it's much easier. It would be much easier for Trump, for anyone else, to do this for a bit, run out of political will, and end up doing what many Republican voters are annoyed about Republicans repeatedly doing, which is calling for a tough border, seeing the border become far more porous, and then calling for an immigration amnesty. I've heard all of this century, let's say left-wing conservatives, saying things like, well, we're lucky because, basically we mainly get Hispanics, whereas the Muslim migration to Europe causes a much bigger problem for Europe than the Hispanic migration to America. There is something in that. There is something in that, but not everything. And if you consider that, for instance, when ICE was acting to deport illegal migrants who were also criminals in California recently, the protests that came up included, crowds waving what? Not the American flag, not the country that they had come into legally or illegally, but flying the Mexican flag and much more. And then you got people celebrating that and saying, yes, go girl, show them how, you're not losing your identity. This is a Mexican versus American thing. It's by no means as mellifluous a process in America as some conservatives and others have liked to reassure themselves that it is. So yes, it's different. Yes, it is mildly easier in terms of integration and so on, but it's not easy.
If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content.